Hey folks, first things first, I've just had my coffee in the morning and we are ready to start a new video. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below, the Patreon button is also down below, and if you want to support me and the channel, Composite Games is there. If you want to get any sort of hobby essentials or models heading up to 10th edition, head over there, use the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 5% off at checkout. I have a very, very big announcement, and that is we do have a merch store arriving on Friday of this week. If you are on the Discord already, then you have access to that merch store already. As a thank you to you for signing up to the Discord and helping out the amazing community that's over there. The Discord link will be in the community section of the YouTube channel. Just click on over there and you'll see the link to join the Discord. If you join that, you will get access to the store. Just head on to the announcements part of the Discord and you can see the link there. There are lots of promo codes on there for 10% off the merch that's on there. We've got hoodies, we've got baseball caps, we've got leggings, we've got t-shirts, all sorts of things to tell people to get in the sea if you don't like them, that kind of a thing. It really does help support the channel. If you want something tangible to have in your hands to walk around with, I'd love to see these at a convention or something one day, or like a tournament or a games workshop. It would be absolutely hilarious. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Because today we do have a rather, shall we say, important subject to cover. We are on the cusp of 10th edition now, guys. We are literally, I would say, months away. I would say June, mid-June is going to be the time when we're going to see 10th edition finally hit shelves, or maybe late summer. I know they're going to do Warhammer Fest. They're going to do a big thing at Warhammer Fest where you can go in and play it early. So it's probably going to be a few weeks after Warhammer Fest, if I'm being honest. I don't think it'll be any later than that. And we are in endgame now. We are on the place where Games Workshop needs to start giving us a bit more in the way of information. And over the weekend, I did a bit of combing. I did a bit of investigating, and I looked up every source I could, every interview I could, every video that I could, every article that I could, to put together what we know about the most important part of 10th edition, at least for me, and that is the Codexes. You guys know how much of a bloat the Codexes give the game going forward. So, first of all, let's see what, straight from the horse's mouth, on their website, what the Games Workshop actually say is going to happen. Let's try and dissect this, and then I'll go over what I found in different interviews and different sources to actually combat or reinforce what they're saying here. So, Warhammer 40,000, what does the new game mean for your Codexes? Okay. So, like an orbital drop pod seeing its way through the flak-filled... Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Warhammer 40,000 has more than a dozen factions and many more sub-factions, all of which makes a rich and deep strategic game. It's fair to say, however, the most recent edition has become unwieldy. Yeah, no shit. The learning curve is steep, and you're often forced to spend too much time flicking through several books looking for the right special rule or stratagem. Very, very, very true. The new edition is designed to address all of these points and more, to remove every rule or interaction in which the complexity has become unhelpful. That is very, very important. Where the complexity has become unhelpful. That doesn't mean we're not going to have complex special rules in the game. It's just where what they think is unhelpful, quote unquote, those things are going to be removed. Okay. The design studio has taken a long, hard look at the state of the game. The core rules that underpin Warhammer 40,000 are strong, but in their review, they found many opportunities for streamlining the system, fixing rules that didn't quite sit right, and numerous other quality of life changes. Okay. So this resembles a patch to me. That's the kind of thing that a game developer would give you if he's giving you a patch to a game. That's not what this is, though. This is a seismic change on the level of 8th edition, if you ask me. From what they've told us. Those sticky complexities have now been smoothed out, and without losing any of the game's depth. Okay, this is another misnomer. This is another misnomer. You know, the complexities have been smoothed out without losing any of the game's depth. I don't agree. I think a game as deep as 9th edition is... It's too deep. It's too much to go into, okay? It takes you an hour or so to set up a 2,000 point game of Warhammer 40,000 in 9th edition. It shouldn't be that way. And any rule set that's wanting to keep that level of depth is opening itself up to being exploited to the point that you are also setting up a game of Warhammer 40k in 10th edition for an hour before you even start. If you want more people in the hobby, making the game more shallow is simply the way to go. I'm sorry, I hate using the word shallow, but that is what it is. You can have a game that has a lot of depth in terms of tactical flexibility and skill, no problem. But you can also have a game that's shallow enough that somebody can just pick up and get started straight away without needing 5 or 6 books or 5 or 6 hours of free time to play a single game of Warhammer 40k. You know what I mean? I think they're trying to get the best of both worlds, and they really are shooting for the sun here. We'll see if they get it. These much-needed simplifications are substantial enough that, from a rules perspective at least, every 9th edition codex has been rendered obsolete. Now, 2 things on this. Of course, it is rendered obsolete. Yeah, we have a new, Warhammer 40,000 edition coming out. That goes without saying. All of your codexes are now useless. What I don't like, okay, this is brave. They just come out and say it. All of your stuff's now obsolete. You know, they just come out and say it. What I don't like is this. That's not to say that they're useless. They're still bursting with lore, history, and short stories that define each faction. I mean, you know, and until the new codexes emerge over the course of the new edition, these books will remain the main repository of knowledge that you need. That, to me, at least the end of that sentence, is a lie. That is a complete fabrication. That's not true. That's literally not true. Because your indexes that are coming out with the new edition, Games Workshop, are changing the way armies work, and they're changing the base stat lines of armies, and how weapons work, and how and how weapons work, and how all different things within the game work, okay? So, your old codexes will not be the main repository of knowledge that you need to play the game. Your 9th edition codexes are, just as you say, obsolete. In other words, if you want, you cannot play 10th edition with a 9th edition codex, because the rules are changing. You've already said in your own interviews, as I'll get into later on, that nearly every weapon's been looked at again, nearly every stat line's been looked at again, nearly every points cost has been looked at again. The way the game works fundamentally has been changed at its core to fit into a more streamlined version of itself. The rules of 9th edition in your codex are not conductive to 10th edition gameplay. Okay? So coming out and saying this is typical what Games Workshop do. They want the best of both worlds. They want to please everybody. They're so terrified of not pleasing everybody that they lie. They lie very... And this is such an easy lie to catch them in. Because any hobbyist who knows anything about the hobby at all knows that this is bullshit. This is literally not the case. You cannot play 10th edition with a 9th edition codex. By the way, even if you could somehow make that work, most opponents will tell you to go and swivel, especially if your codex in 9th edition was very strong. Okay, they'll tell you to use the index or nothing at all until the new codexes are released. That's just how it is. That is just how it is. The problem with this, if we stay on the codex model of bringing out codexes, codex creep will always be a thing. That's because at the start of your new edition, everybody gets an index. That's a wonderful thing. That's great. Everybody's on a level playing field. That's great. That's awesome. Okay, we love that. But what happens when let's say that the first codex that comes out is Grey Knights. The first proper codex that comes out is Codex Grey Knights. Grey Knights now have an advantage on nearly every single other person in the game, because they have their own codex with their own special rules and their own formations and all sorts. So codex creep is a natural part of the game if you're playing it this way. If you're bringing out codexes in little increments as the game is out to update the rules as we go, codex creep will always be a part of your game. It's never ever going to go away. That's quite simple. It's quite a simple formula, right? It happened in 8th edition. We started in 8th edition, and it was probably the best time in 40k most people have ever had, at least people that I've spoken to. And that we had indexes and it was a complete open playing field of people playing in tournaments and leagues and all sorts. It was a very level playing field, and everybody seemed to be having a good time. Then the first codexes started to drop, and when we got to the Astra Militarum codex that completely broke the game, we were back to square one again. We were back to meta armies. We were back to certain armies being objectively better than others at everything. That's codex creep. And if you design a game this way, by bringing out indexes and not sticking to them, but bringing out nice shiny new books as we go along, codex creep will always be a thing, because why wouldn't it be? Alright, that's bollocks. Your old codexes will not be of use to you at all in the new edition of 140,000. The associated packs of data cards are also obsolete. Okay, yeah, brave, I like it. Thank you for being honest with us. Okay. One of the main vectors for streamlining armies has been to heavily reduce the numbers of stratagems available to each faction. Gone are the days of shuffling through 50 cards to find that right ability. Each army has now a lean list of them included on the double page spread that defines them. Okay, brilliant. You will nevertheless be able to play your chosen army as soon as the new edition lands. We are releasing revamped, restatted and reconsidered datasheets for every single unit in the game. All free to download them at launch and ready to go. You'll simply be able to buy inexpensive packs. You'll also be able to buy inexpensive packs of these cards at launch. Okay. I'll be very interested to see if the rules on the packs that you buy are different to the ones that are free. That will be very interesting to me. By the way, Games Workshop are tacitly telling you now that they've lied in their previous statement here. Okay? Nearly every single rule, we have reconsidered data sheets for every single unit in the game, all free to download, blah, blah, blah. Revamped, restatted, and reconsidered. So you're telling me that you can play a game of 40k, 10th edition, with 9th edition codexes? No, you can't. Of course you can't. Of course you can't. Don't lie. Thank you. You know? Just come out and tell us that our old books are obsolete. Which is why I don't want them in the game. I don't want codexes in the game. I just think we're beyond that now. We are so beyond that now. It is what it is, man. We are beyond it now. And people saying, like, I don't want my codexes behind a paywall. I'm sorry, but they already are behind a paywall. A £30 paywall. A 30 quid paywall is what your actual rules are behind. Maybe more. Because prices have gone up. So you're looking at £35 for a codex now. So you're telling me that you would rather, if I give you £5, a £5 subscription to Warhammer Plus, right? And you get access to your codexes. And by the way, even if you cancel your Warhammer Plus, I'd say after a certain amount of time, I'd say, you know, 5, 10, 15, I'd say 6 months. If you keep Warhammer Plus for 6 months at £5 a month, you get your codex that you wanted. It's on there, and it'll never go. Even if you cancel Warhammer Plus, it stays there. You know what I mean? So yeah, there is a paywall there, but I just think it's a better way of doing it than just saying £35, please. Every few editions, £35, please. Give us the money. All of your books are now obsolete. I don't know. Boarding actions, on the other hand, are still going strong. The core rules in Ark of Omen Abaddon were specifically written to work with the new edition, and the book will remain available for the foreseeable future. All you need to play this tight and tense format of 40k is this book, the book that contains your own faction rules and a set of terrain. Alright, so really, okay, the only thing we can fathom from this article is that they are bringing out new codexes. We are sticking with that. It's disappointing to me. We are sticking with that format. New codexes will be coming as we go into the new Warhammer 40,000 game. New codexes will emerge over the course of the new edition. That, to me, is one of the main sticking points of any edition of 40k for me. I thought this would be a really good opportunity to move away from paper books, to move away from overly expensive books that we're going to need to replace in a few years anyway, and move on to a subscription model, a very cheap subscription model that gives us access to all codexes, right? That would be my thing, right? If you pay your £5 a month, you get access to every codex in the game on Warhammer Plus. Download them and you're away, and away you go. And if you want to keep them, then it's a one-off payment of like a £10 for each one you want to keep. And if you want to keep that one, even if you cancel Warhammer Plus, you've still got it. forever. You've still got it. How much better would that be? You know, how much better would that be? Instead of a £35 brick that you have to replace every few years, you've got a £10 piece of code, piece of DLC basically. It's a piece of DLC that you would buy for any game. Instantly, on your tablet, on your phone, wherever it is. Whatever you need to do. And I would say, yeah, you can still buy the codexes if you want. Let's say if somebody doesn't have a tablet or doesn't have a computer or a phone, you can still buy them if you want. You know, but they would be in a much cheaper paperback version that you can actually buy. This constant redefining of the game as Games Workshop licensed to print money. They can print money every few years by telling you that your rules now, your books are now obsolete. You can't play with them. Disappointing. Moving on. To the rules themselves, before I get into my own investigations. I told you that this one was going to be a long video. What does simplified, not simple mean for the new edition of Warhammer 40,000? Right, I've seen this on my own comment section as well. Trying to talk about, you know, what things are actually going to mean going forward. So, let's get into it. What do Games Workshop say from the horse's mouth? What does it mean? So, the gauntlet is out the bag. There's a revolutionary new edition of Warhammer 40,000 on its way, and it's ringing in the changes. We freely admit that currently the game has become a bit too complex for many players. With so many stratagems, special rules, and unique situations in the game, Warhammer 40,000 has also become somewhat difficult and lengthy to set up and play. Okay, nice admission there. Nice admission. All that changes in the upcoming new edition, which takes the same basic rule set you're familiar with and just makes it simpler without dumbing it down. What does this mean in practice? The High Lords of the Warhammer Design Studio are here to explain. Right, so this is one of the things that I've gone on with my feedback that I've taken. That's one of the interviews that I saw. So I'm going to move on to my own thoughts here, because to be honest with you guys, after a certain point, they just talk nonsense anyway. So, after scouring several interviews in videos and print news articles, here is what we know about the game and codexes and what they will look like in 10th edition. Number 1, rules being in loads of different places is something that Games Workshop really want to avoid. Most, if not all of your rules for your army should be in one place. That's great if that one place is in an index, but more than likely that one place is going to be in your codex that you need to pay quite a lot of money for. 2. Datasheets are a one-stop shop for most of your rules. Keyword there being most, not all. I'm assuming there will be a few frilly, powerful rules that are only in the really expensive codex that you're going to need to buy, but most of your rules will be on the datasheets for your armies going forward, which I like. I like that. That's good. To hit rolls are not attached to weapons anymore, which means that each faction can make certain weapons their own at a glance. For instance, one Space Marine chapter being really good at bolter drills. I like this. This is a really, really, really good call out from Games Workshop, in that one of the things that really sucks is that we have different types of weaponry, or similar types of weaponry in the setting, that are administered, customized, and used by different factions in different ways. This is a really, really, really good change, because it means that they're not just making up new weapons that have nonsense names but are really the same thing. They're giving other units the same weapons, but they use them differently. Okay? What if you have a set of Space Marines who use their bolters like sniper rounds, which you can do. We've seen Marines do that all the time, where they lay in a shot really, really good, like a really good marksman, and they take somebody's head off with a rapid-firing RPG round, right? That should be a thing that's in the game, and now it will be. I really, really like that. To hit rolls removed from the weapons themselves, which means each faction can make certain weapons their own at a glance on their datasheet. That is a lovely, streamlined rule. Well done, Games Workshop, alright? And these are actual things that they've said in different interviews. This isn't me talking nonsense. This isn't me trying to speculate. This is stuff that I've pulled from interviews, from articles, from it taking me take 3 or 4 days to go through this and really collate all this stuff. Stratagems are basically reactions. you can do in your opponent's phase. Boo. Or they are one-off cinematic actions that can turn a game. Okay, so I'd really like to know what you guys think of this, because for me, I'll read that again. Stratagems are reactions that you can do in your opponent's phase, or they are one-off cinematic actions that can turn a game. I am much more in the second part of that sentence. For me, stratagems should be one-off cinematic actions that can really turn a game in your favour. I would like to keep stratagems that influence or interrupt your opponent's turn to an absolute minimum. Reactions are fine, because I love the way that they work in Horus Heresy. That's the way you do it. But really, if we're going down this pathway, why don't we just do alternating activations? Why don't we just have a more collaborative game where we are selecting a unit each every turn? You know what I mean? To do. Why can't we do that? There are other games that do that, and they flow so nicely, and the game is so much quicker because everybody's involved in the game all of the time. If we're going down that route, let's just go down that route. Why do we need to try and have the best of both worlds by having this core game of my turn, and then your turn, and then my turn, and then your turn, but also having these things that can interrupt your turn? So it's my turn now, and now it's your turn, but not really. It's really still my turn, because I'm a baby, and I can't sit here for 10 minutes to half an hour whilst you have your turn, you know? That's how it comes across to me. That's how a lot of people who play these rules come across in 9th edition, right? They can't stand the fact that you're having your own turn, and so they just interrupt it with rules that Games Workshop let them do, because they paid for most of their really expensive books and campaign books and things like that. Bullshit. Don't like it. You know, I'm never going to like it. I know people say in the comments, well, you know, you just... No, I don't like it. It's not something that I like. And yes, it is rude. And somebody said to me the other day, like, oh, it's not rude. You know, that's ridiculous. No, it is rude. If your opponent is having their turn, if you've taken 25 minutes for your turn, you've had fun, and then you interrupt your opponent's turn 5 or 6 times with bullshit stratagems, that's rude. Especially in a tournament setting. In a tournament setting, that sucks, because you're using up their turn time to do your actions. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Right? Reactions are okay. Reactions are okay in Horus Heresy. They work quite well. You know, because they're very, very, very rare. And everybody gets access to them. So you can, you know, there are basically fundamental parts of Horus Heresy 2.0. So everybody gets access to nearly the same ones, and the game flows much better. The problem with stratagems as they are now is that they are not the same across the board. Not everybody has access to the same stratagems, and so one player invariably is able to interrupt the other person's turn a lot more than it is, you know, vice versa. So hopefully what 10th edition is going to do is make stratagems one-off cinematic actions, yes, but if they do take the form of reactions as well, that can interrupt your opponent's turn, there are 5 or 6 of them that everybody gets access to. The slippery slope starts when we start giving some factions access to certain stratagems that interrupt the opponent's turn in powerful ways that not everybody gets access to. That's when the bullshit starts, and that's when I'll start calling it out. Because I know it's coming. We're going to get it in 10th. We're going to get right back to the point where you're playing a game of 40k with somebody, and most of your turn is spent rolling saves for shit your opponent is doing in your turn. Fun. Moving on. Number 5. Lots of decisions and tactics to use during the game should be involved in the base game. Almost none of these actions or decisions are to be made before the game even begins, aside from getting your list together, picking a mission if you want to, and terrain. Okay, so what they're doing here is they're taking 9/10 of the bloat that happens even before you start rolling dice, okay, and they're taking it away. They're completely taking it away. It's gone. Done, okay? What they want for you to do is to make your list in 20 minutes, put it on the, sort out your terrain and your mission, and go. In 20 minutes. Like, in 20 minutes, it's all done. Especially if you come to the game already with your list prepared. you can get a game going in 5 to 10 minutes. That's ideal. That's brilliant. That's fantastic. Not only will it help normal narrative play between friends, but tournaments will run so much smoother because it is so horrible. And I have a few hobby nightmares about this later on in the week. When you go to a tournament and your opponent takes forever setting up their army, it just, especially if you don't have a time limit on that. Oh my god, it's awkward. It's horrible. It's so horrible. So what they're doing is they're taking off all of the front loading of the rules. You know, getting all of your special rules in line and all that sort of stuff. They're taking all that away. So literally, sort your terrain out, pick your mission, and play. Off you go. You know. So all of your tactical decisions and all of the decisions that you should be using to win the game should happen during the game and not before. What we're trying to avoid here is a game of gotchas and foregone conclusions. We've all played games like that, right? You know, where we've had a foregone conclusion when you play a game with somebody and it's evident from the top of turn 1 that they've set up their army in a way, they've math hammered it, and they've set up their army in a way that you've got no chance to win the game. Well, what 10th edition is going to try to do is make sure that they can't do that. Okay? It's going to make sure that if you're beaten by somebody in 40k 10th edition, you're beaten by them in the game honorably in a stand-up fight because they used better tactical decisions than you during the game. That's something that I'm literally the most excited about in this list. But it's also one of the most vague things that they've said in their interviews. So we'll see, But that one's it's got my attention. Got my attention. I might go back to tournaments if that is true. All right, number 6. For instance, as an example, all psychic powers a librarian or psyker has are literally on their data slate. No more flicking around several books looking for a specific power. We've all done it at the start of a game. When you've got a psyker, which powers does he have again? Let me get my codex out. No, it's not in there. It's not in there. Is in chapter approved? No, it's not in there. Is in the rule book? No. Oh, hang on. No, I think it's in that discipline. No, is it in Sanctic? No. Is in Biomancy? No. You know, and we're there forever. Forever and ever and ever. And people also cheat. They will also say that a librarian has one power at the start of a game, and because everybody forgets later on in the game, they'll say he's got another psychic power. No more. No more. It's literally on his data slate. It's right there, right in front of you, what he has, and what he's got access to, and what he doesn't have access to. There's no more flicking around. Everything's black and white. It's right there for you to see, and it takes, as an example, you know, 1/10 of the time away from the start of the game when you're trying to sort this stuff out. Here's one for me, as a Grey Knights player, which I'm like, ugh. There will be no psychic phase at all in 10th edition. You heard that right. Psychic powers are just abilities psychers can do at certain times. No army should have loads of downtime. Now this I agree with. I quite liked, as a Grey Knight player, having a psychic phase all to myself. It was nice, you know what I mean, being able to do things that other armies can't do. But the other player shouldn't have to stand there for 10-20 minutes whilst I do Smite for the 19th time that turn. I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that sentiment. I would be disappointed and annoyed as well if this was happening all the time. So, one thing I would say, though, is that it's not going to stop me doing all of those smites. It's just going to spread them out, you know? So instead of doing all in one phase, I'll do it in the shooting phase, or I'll do it in the assault phase, you know, and all these other things. So I think the time frame will still be there for doing smites and for psychic powers taking up a bit more time than usual. But I do like the fact that because we have reactions in the game now, the psychic phase is gone, because it lets other people do Deny the Witch and to do maybe a reaction where they can try and snipe my psyker's head off before he does a spell. That kind of a thing, you know? That's what I mean by cinematic things. Stratagems should be cinematic. If I've got my librarian on 2 wounds, and he's going to do a big psychic power that might win me the game, and you use a reaction stratagem that lets your Vindicare assassin snipe his head off from across the table, that's really, really cinematic. That's how the game should flow, right? The game shouldn't be, I have my turn, and then I have my second turn as you're having your turn. That's not how the game should work. And that's how it works right now at certain times. This is exactly what I mean. And I have a psychic army, by the way. So, you know, I'm being honest here. I'm being very honest and saying, look, you know, I don't mind you taking away the psychic phase. As long as it leads into it being a quicker game, that's more cinematic. That I'm all down for. Universal special rules are back. They are a massive time saver. Deep Strike, Feel No Pain, Unbreakable, all of these are in the game, and all of them take in a lot of other rules that were. So we had several different types of Feel No Pain in 9th edition, several different types of Deep Strike. Now it's all the same thing, just as it was in earlier editions. Lovely streamlining, love it. Everybody knows what Deep Strike does. Everybody knows what Feel No Pain does. Everybody knows what all these other special rules do, because they're all in the core rules right there at the front. You know what they do, and there's no more. Wait, what does a Tyrannid Deep Strike do again? Oh, you get to do a mortal wound when you arrive. Oh, Jesus. It feels like a gotcha. It feels like a gotcha. It shouldn't. Deep Strike is Deep Strike. Feel No Pain is Feel No Pain. Get on with it. I love it. We'll see how long that lasts, though, in the game, won't we? Rules should be really tight. And that is something that I've literally taken verbatim from a Games Workshop interview that happened a few weeks ago. Rules should be really tight. No more broken combinations of relics, warlord traits, and other convoluted rules feeling like a gotcha and meta for certain armies. Okay, so we're taking away all of those complex combinations of relics, warlord traits, and all those other rules that would allow a certain faction to operate way above their pay grade. It looks to me like they've successfully pinpointed one of the key issues of 40k, is that when all of their unforeseen meta-breaking things happen, it's always combinations of things. Relics, warlord traits, all those other things that are quite hard to test if you're not playing the game, if you're playing the game in good faith. There are certain combinations in 9th edition that are absolutely broken. There are certain relics, there are certain warlord traits, there are certain special rules for specific factions that completely break the game. Making the rules tight means you're taking away all of that. And so you're not going to face as many gotcha moments of, you know, all of these 9 rules combined together to mean I win, go fuck yourself. And you're not going to have as many meta-chasing people who are just there math-hammering the entire thing and taking away all of the nuance of the game, right? Being able to read and to basically math hammer your way out of a problem isn't nuance, right? There's no imagination there. There's no tactical imagination there. You've got a one-size-fits-all thing, and you're just running it. That's one of the phrases that I hate as well. What are you running? I'm not running anything. I'm playing Warhammer. Go away. Anyway, formations are also mentioned as coming back. Yes, I've seen that in 2 interviews now. Formations, the most hated part of 7th edition, are mentioned as coming back. Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Right? Detachments I don't mind. Detachments are fine. But formations, no. Please keep them at the game. If you don't know what those were, back in 7th edition, Games Workshop would ingeniously sell models that nobody really wanted by combining them into things called formations, that if you took them in a specific way, like if you took 3 Land Raiders and a Lemon Russ, for instance, or something weird, you know what I mean? 3 Land Raiders and 2 Dreadnoughts, that you could put them into a formation, and that formation would get amazing special rules, like they can fire straight through cover, or whenever they fire at you, you're instantly pinned, and you need to roll a d6, and if you don't roll a 6, you can't make any actions that turn. There were things that broken that were in 7th edition towards the end. That's what formations were. I hope to God that the people that I've read about are using the phrase detachments and formations interchangeably, and they've made a few mistakes there by just calling the detachments formations. Okay, it's very similar, but all the attachments is that they make your army, well, currently objective secured, things like that, and they give your army a few like minor buffs, and they make them actually legal to play on the tabletop. That's fine. Formations, no, don't want them in the game. They are just a absolute bullshit merchant's wet dream. I don't want them in the game. So hopefully, the interviews that I've seen are just using those two phrases interchangeably by accident, rather than actually giving us a hint at what's coming. Core rules and codexes. I'm not going to say that. Sorry, I got that wrong. Core rules and indexes, not codexes, indexes, are free. And they are all you need to play the game, and they will be available on release. That is lovely. That is lovely. Because GW literally had their cake and ate it with 8th edition when they brought out the indexes that you had to pay for. Now, core rules and indexes are free, and it's all you need to play the game. Codexes will offer more in-depth options, quote-unquote, and another literal quote there, for your army, while sticking to the simplified, not simple, core message of 10th edition. So, that to me is a tacit admission that whilst your rules in an index might be cool, might be all you need to play the game, the codexes will be where the real power of a faction lies. I can see this going the way of 8th edition, which became a bit of a mess towards the end, and I can see this being yet another cycle of, you know, release a nicely balanced game of Warhammer 40,000 and break it as much as you can over the course of the next few years to make people spend more and more and more money, and just when the vitriol and the anger gets to a crescendo of how broken the game is, say, hey, 11th edition is on the way, the next edition is now revealed, and I promise you, we'll fix all of the problems if you just pay for it all again. I swear this is where they're going, and it really disappoints me. It really disappoints me. A lot of you have seen the video I made on 10th edition and where I would take it and what I would do with it, so you'll know why I'm really kind of devastated that this is where they're going with the game. You know, that we're still with this constant codex rigmarole again. I'm really disappointed. I'm really, really disappointed. Codexes are the bane of this game, and the quicker people actually wake up to that fact, we may have a nicely balanced game eventually. Horus Heresy get it right. They get it right. All of your rules are in a book. A big old book. It's there. You just get it. It's done. Right? All of your rules are there. Did they change? Not really. Why? Because it was play tested up the arse before it came out. That's why. Up the arse. Okay? I just don't get why we need to have this constant changing up of the guard. Well, I do. It's money. It's money. They want you to spend money on codexes. I'm telling you now, if you play Imperial Fist Space Marines and you only use an index, and you have another player who plays exactly the same list, but he plays Imperial Fist Space Marines and uses the Codex, right? 60-70% of the time, the Codex army will win. I'm telling you now, that's how it's going to work out. That is how it's going to work out. You can say it's not pay to win all you like, but that's how it stinks to me, man. This stinks. This stinks. All of the really cool stuff they've done is undermined by the fact that they are signposting to you they are going to break the game during the journey of 10th edition by bringing out new codexes that are always more powerful than the one that was released last month. That's just how it's going to go. That is just how it's going to go. And then just when everybody's so pissed off that they're ready to walk away from 40k, they'll say, surprise, motherfucker. It's 2025, and 11th edition is coming out. And we promise we'll fix all of your problems. You know, core rules and indexes being free is great. But you know that they're leading into that. They're telling you that because they know you're going to want the codexes anyway. You know? It's an easy win. Doing the indexes for free is an easy win. It gets everybody involved in the game, and it gets everybody hooked to the point that when the codexes start dropping and all of a sudden you're losing to your friends who have their own codexes. When yours comes out, you have to get the codex. It's genius. It's genius, man. They'll never stop. They will never, ever, ever stop. It's so disappointing that we are at this moment in time, and literally what I said would be the worst case scenario for codexes has happened. Okay? It's happened. We are in exactly the same position as we were in 9th edition as well. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same business model as 9th edition. I mean, I don't know why I expected it to be any different. I didn't really. I just hope beyond hope that somebody with sense was working there who could say, no, we need to go electronic. We need to make sure that, you know, every codex is available behind a subscription service. If you get that, then you get your subscription service done. After 6 months of being on the subscription, you get to choose a codex to have forever. So even if you delete the app and you unsubscribe, you've always got that codex, right? And if you don't want to wait, you can pay £10 or £15 for the ebook of any codex that you want. Straight onto the app, straight onto your phone, straight onto your tablet, whatever. It's still there. And by the way, if you don't use any of that stuff, you can pay 20 quid and get a paperback version from Games Workshop and in a little booklet ready to go. It's there, done, and we're away. You know? Awesome stuff, man. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. That would be great. And then if you really want to with the lore, make people pay. Like if you want to pay for the lore, fine. Fine, go that route. I wouldn't. I'd bring up booklets for free. But that's just me. That's just me. Because you're a company that makes money hand over fist. You're a company that makes 50 odd million quid a year hand over fist. You're telling me you can't afford to throw your fans a bone in these really trying times where everybody has less money and life is getting harder for people? Get in the fucking sea. That's my rant over. Have I been too harsh? Do I need to get a grip? Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day. See you later. Have a good one. Bye.